Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of It's Brewin at McEwen, a USF Baseball podcast. I'm your host, Mark Giardino, and tonight I'm joined by one of my co-hosts, Adam Cartwright. Adam, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I think all Bulls fans are doing pretty well this week. At least they should be if they're not living under a rock. But
Yeah.
it's been pretty fantastic, man. How are you?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great, and you're absolutely right. It's we have to obviously mention what's been going on with the Bulls athletics as a whole.
Yeah.
Just incredible start to the football season. I got to go to the Boise State game in person because my new office is actually walking distance from Ray J, so that was fun. Did I expect us to blow out a ranked team? Nope, but that was great. And then obviously, last week, I was actually watching the game on my phone at an engagement
Ooh,
party. But man, I was luckily there was a couple other USF alumni there, so we were all kind of going crazy.
that's awesome.
But yeah, how's your experience been just experiencing these first two games?
Awesome, man. It's been a long time, and I was on the Jay Retro show earlier this week, and I just kind of talked about the fact like there was there was some demons that were exercised when that
Oh
kick went through.
yeah,
Like if you've been around, I graduated in 2013. I was a Bulls fan, a little bit before that, so that kind of puts me here. Over a decade in, and most of the decade hasn't been great. Um, and it's fun to see this happening. It's fun to feel the anticipation that we're feeling going into this next game with Miami,
right.
versus just feeling like, hey man, I just really don't want us to get killed. Now we're going into it. There's a lot of people saying that we have a chance to really do something special here. You hope it's not like Nick Saban's rat poison stuff. You're trying to kind of keep a lot of it down. But it's fun, man. It's fun to be a part of. Really wouldn't have it any other way.
And no, it's awesome, and it's huge for and we're a baseball podcast primarily, right? But
Hmm.
it's big for baseball because that is the football program really is like the front doorstep of the school, not only athletically but academically as well. Like, I mean, I think back to myself, like I knew growing up that my dad went to USF, but it wasn't until like 2005, 2006 as a kid that I started seeing the football team on TV, attended some games in person, and I was about 12, 13 years old when they were ranked number two in the country. Obviously, that had some influence on me picking USF as a school I ultimately went to. And luckily, they had a good program for my major as well. But I mean, when USF is doing great in football, I mean, it's great for everything. So it's really good.
It's the biggest marketing. It's the biggest marketing drive that athletics has. It's the easiest marketing campaign you can have as an athletics, right? So, every big baseball recruit, across the country has seen USF on ESPN this week, and they've seen it
Exactly.
multiple times. They've seen the logo. They might not have known about it. Now they went in Wikipedia, like, what do you mean? There's a school in Tampa. Now
Right.
that, oh, it's in Paradise and they're good. Like,
Right.
things kick up from this, right? And
Yeah.
it's big things. That's why you really wish, and I don't think we want to get into this, but you really wish certain uh professionals in the media would take their job a little seriously when they do their ranking. But that is what it is. It's all we got to say about that. But man, I'm just ready for Saturday. I really am. I want to see us hold our own, hold the field goals like we did last week and grind out a victory.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. Can't wait. Can't wait. But that wasn't actually the only good USF news this week.
No.
I'll give a little sidebar. We got to see that Adam Sandler and I think Vanilla Ice played basketball with the basketball team. I love to see
Yep.
that. That was cool. And then another big thing was we've finally filled that void that was left when Michael Kelly, our former athletic director, left for the Naval Academy. We've hired Rob Higgins as the new CEO of athletics, first ever CEO of athletics, and that job title is meant to align more with the modern era of college sports. Um, Adam, what was your reaction when you saw that?
Loved it. I loved the transition from an athletic director to a CEO of athletics. I think it's leaning more to look this NIL world. The transfer portal is its own thing, right? And I think you have to. I hate when people group together NIL/transfer portal because I think you have to understand they are two separate animals in what they've done. And what the NIL did was it really hammered home the business aspect of college athletics. That's why I like that we went with the CEO. I liked that, you think of like big time athletic directors of the past. You think of like the Barry Alvarez's of Nebraska, right? These are old former coaches. These are all former athletics guys that are ascending up into those directors' roles. Well, th those guys aren't going to really kind of transition into this future with the way things are going, right? Because the whole game is shifting, and that's why I'm glad that we kind of went out. We found a guy that really understands the business aspects of sports, right?
Yeah.
Uh, you mentioned he was was it what was his official title with the
Yeah, I
Tampa
think he
Bay
was
as
like
like
VP or president or something like
he was
that.
he was a
Yeah.
very high. I want to say he
Oh
was
yeah.
running it. It was like
Yeah, he
CEO
was
type
running
of
it.
stuff.
Executive chairman, I don't know, something pretty
Yeah,
high
it was
up. Yeah.
something along those lines,
Yeah.
right? But he's understands fundraising, bringing together a large sums of money to kind of get an events going, and that's what we're going to need. Is someone that can kind of understand the business aspects of sports and kind of bring that in. What I would like to see us do is add a like general manager type of role, like you saw what Stanford did when they brought in Andrew Luck. Now he's going to act as more or less the football guy
Right.
in the athletics. And so you would like to see that kind of add where you kind of get that level underneath that CEO that's
Hmm.
overseeing everything, right? You get that kind of that football guy. And that's kind of where that role where you would see that Barry Alvarez type of guy kind of ascend to.
That would be cool. And I did see you hint that you'd like to see was it Derek Brooks if in an
I
ideal world.
that was the first guy I would think of, man. I think he'd be
Yeah.
absolutely perfect in that role. Just overseeing the football operations. I don't think there's anybody better. I think he's been running the Tampa Bay Storm kind of off and on because their seasons are kind of whether or not what they're in their leagues, the arena leagues, they kind
Yeah.
of fall, they go under, so I think he'd be perfect in the role.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And you're right. I mean, we need in the modern era, you need a business sense, but also with the sports background, not only a business person, but someone in sports business, which is exactly
Mm.
what this guy was. On top of that, he's also an alumni of USF, so his heart's going to be in it. One of my friends wasn't that familiar with him, and basically, I told him quick, I was like, look, if there's anybody out there who could help us move into a power conference, help us retain big time coaches and things of that nature. That's the guy.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and I like that you mentioned that he was alumni and his heart's in it because, as we've talked about his business, it's becoming to run like a pro organization. And so when you look at the best owners, they're the ones that really have pride in winning because in sports, sometimes the decision that gets you to win isn't the decision that makes you the most money.
right,
And so sometimes you have to kind of balance that out in sports. And so I agree. I think it's going to be good that he's somebody that's going to have his heart in it to be like, hey, you know what?
right.
We're going to put our chips in right here. You know what
Yep,
I'm saying?
yep,
And I
yeah,
think, I think those decisions come from the heart. I think that's why you see somebody like George Steinbrenner that built the Yankees into what he did. He wanted to win, right? And sometimes that didn't mean making the best business decision,
right,
but hey, he had a shipping industry. He was going to make his business there. He was going to win
right.
ball games with the Yankees. And so, um, yeah, I just appreciate that. I like that he was an alumni as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm excited, man. Lots of exciting things going on with USF. And one of those exciting things is the fact that fall baseball is technically underway. Um, the guys are, I don't know if it's technically underway, but the guys are on campus.
They're working out.
Yeah, they're working out. They're doing individual workouts. And we got speaking of pleasant surprises and fun things, we got the baseball roster published um, last week, which is just awesome. I mean, last year we didn't really get to see it until I think January. There were some reasons for that for sure. But now that it's out there, it's public, and all these guys' names are out there, we said, hey, let's do some research on some of these new guys, some of the names we weren't even familiar with.
Mhm.
And some names we were familiar with, some names we knew we saw their commitments months ago, or even the high school guys we've been following for at least a year or two, maybe even 3 years in some cases.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so what we'll do in this show is kind of just we're trying to keep it kind of light, just give you our reactions to seeing the roster published. We'll touch on what we're seeing from a returner standpoint, and from a newcomer standpoint. And the plan is really for the fall, actual team practices start, which I believe is October, maybe late September. And then you obviously have the fall game in November, maybe sometimes a couple fall games. But we plan to get out. There's four of us in total, three of us in here in Florida. So we're going to try to get out to at least a couple things, see some of the stuff in person, and be able to report back on, how we're seeing some of these position battles and lineup projections kind of shake out. But we can't really do that yet. We're more going to just educate, inform, and kind of share some thoughts on some of these new names and some of the returning names. So I'll kick it to you, Adam, to just start it. Let's kind of start with the returners.
Mhm.
What stands out about players that are coming back to the program?
Yeah, there's a few interesting names for me that I'm going to be watching as we head into this fall season that uh I think they're going to be kind of key components to our success going on. The first one, I think, we all saw it in the tournament. And he didn't really play a lot of summer this year, as he's usually had really good summers in the past, but it's our guy Matt Rose, man. What's going to be interesting about him is he's versatile. Where is he going to play into this lineup? There's a lot of moving parts. Um, we can kind of talk about that too. Like it's so interesting because we have a lot of returners. But then again, we don't. Like I think we may have the same amount of returners this year that we had kind of last year, and that's just
Yeah.
this new kind of portal world, right? And so it is kind of a different dynamic. You don't know, is he going to slot in at third base? Is he going to move over to the second base spot that Hakame left as he decided to be a Pirate? But it's just interesting, and I think he's going to be well no matter what he does. But it's just going to be fun to kind of watch and how that goes. Another name for me is Carter Murphy. We saw him kind of play first base. I think in an interview I saw over the summer, he kind of talked about the fact that he had played third base his whole life, and so he'd really kind of just now transitioned into being a full-time first baseman. I think he played a lot of first base over the summer. I think he's going to be in that competition. A lot of pop in that bat. We saw that in the tournament too. When it gets consistent, I think we might see him do a lot of damage. Um, then the last one I'll mention right off the bat is Victor Cartagena. We saw him briefly come in, look very sharp in right field. Hey, we're going to need two new corner outfielders, right? So there's two battles that are going to come in that he can kind of play a role in. It's going to be interesting to see where he slots in as we come into this new season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you think about it, we've lost two critical outfielders in Jackson Mayo and Marcus Brodell. So, like you said, those are two openings right there. Sebastian Greco was our first baseman. That's an opening right there, and that's something that Carter Murphy seems to have been preparing for. So yeah, I mean, Victor Cartagena is an interesting one because we saw him very briefly just in a few games here and there last season, but the physical traits and abilities of him look pretty impressive actually, and it's just going to be interesting to see, can he earn an everyday role and he's got the ability, of course, to do something with that. I'll mention a couple other names that stand out from a returning standpoint. For me, it's there's a couple that are interesting, and for a related reason, we get Brad Keylori back, and we also get Jorge De Cardenas back, and both of those guys are only eligible to play because of the Diego Pavia NCAA ruling saying that if you enrolled in JUCO, I think it was 2021, I forget exactly which year, but you're
Certain time
grant,
frame.
yeah, certain if you played in a JUCO in a certain time frame, you are eligible for the 25-26 season. So it's good to see Bradkey and the Cardenas both taking advantage of that. So we get to see more Bradkey web gems. The Cardinals had some really good games for us on the mound, so that's pretty great to see. And then I'll give one other shout out from a returning standpoint. I'm excited to see that Lawson Gailey decided to come back, I mean, that's a guy who's a recruit from the old coaching staff. He pitched for the Bulls in 2023 and 2024, and he missed all of last season with an injury. He did not record a single inning. He was there with the team the whole time, stuck with the team. and he's back now. So it is definitely exciting to see, what he's going to be able to do. And I mean, when he was healthy as a freshman and sophomore, he was a good pitcher for USF. I mean, he's got 18 career starts. He's got a 4.5 career ERA. Always enjoy watching him pitch. He's got a really good changeup, good composure and good pace on the mounds. I'm excited to see him get healthy again. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting returners. Obviously, we're thrilled to have Rafi, Lance Triple back. But not surprising. They weren't in the portal, and we were
Hmm.
just glad to have them back. Ryan Pruitt as well. Um, but yeah, so a lot of interesting things on a returning standpoint. Now, also I kind of wanted to mention earlier is at a high level, this roster has 41 players and 27 of them are new, and only 14 are considered returners. So that goes to show you that this is a big roster turnover. And it does make sense though, because if you think about it, last year Coach Hanna's really retained a good amount of Billy Mole's team. Pretty much anybody who really wanted to stay basically had the opportunity to stay.
Yeah.
But now you're seeing like, okay, are there still some guys from that era? Yes, but ultimately this is looking like fully Mitch Hanna's team. So yeah, that's one thing to note. But you're getting a lot of newcomers. So we will talk a little bit about that. So from a newcomer standpoint, Adam, what are some of the first names you want to mention that stand out when you look at this?
First name that I really like, from a newcomer standpoint, I guess we'll start with the guys kind of transferring in. Uh, the first guy is Carson Cabbage. He comes in from Walter State. They are a very successful program in their division. Not quite sure what the letters are, but I believe it's a JUCO. But again, they're very, very successful. 16 home runs as a catcher. If you saw some of his highlight tapes on his social medias. He's a very athletic catcher. He does a lot of the same stuff that we've seen Lance Triple do.
Yeah,
It's kind of like Coach Hannes has a type when it comes to his catchers.
right.
Um, and that, adds another aspect to that because you can get them both in the lineup, one way or another. Their athleticism will play in other positions on the field if they're both hitting, and that kind of gives you the ability. Even though we know Coach Hannes likes to kind of get a lineup and go with it, I think in the lead up to what that lineup is, it's going to give him a lot of versatility, and I think that is something that he would like. So, that's the first one really stands out to me, man. What about you?
Yeah. I'll kind of add a little onto that. I mean, Carson Cabbage, he's got a really good frame. He's 6'2", 210. And like you said, he's athletic. He even stole 9 bases in 190 at bats. So you're right. It's like very similar to Lance Triple in a way where it's like here's a catcher. He's not just a catcher. He's an athlete
Yep.
first. And that's awesome. I mean, I love that. So there's another one that jumps off the page to me um, when I look at the newcomers is Jevin Relaford is a transfer from Division II Florida Southern. He played there for about 3 or 4 years, so he's going to be a senior with the Bulls. He is primarily a shortstop. He could probably play second base as well, but there's one stat from him that really jumps off the page, and that is last season at Florida Southern, he had 68 steals. I just, I was just like, what? I mean, some guys don't even get on base 68 times. I was like, man, he's got 113 career steals in his years at Florida Southern. And on top of that, he's actually a good hitter. I mean, he's got a 776 career OPS over there. He hit 8 home runs over there over the span of 3 or 4 years, 600 at bats. So he is primarily a speed and contact guy. Um, Had a low strikeout rate, only 12%. So yeah, he's a speed contact guy. I mean, he was with a little bit of pop. Don't know too much about his glove yet, but I'm assuming it's pretty good if we brought him in because we're pretty big on that. But I'm excited to see what Jevin Relaford will be able to do. Um, Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, we lost Anthony Quigley to the transfer portal, and he was kind of gonna get slotted into this guy that I thought was really gonna be someone we could add to the lineup to really add a speed threat and really put some pressure. And it looks like this Rutherford guy is gonna kind of come in and fill that role and be able to run, be able to get on base. I know everybody loves the home runs, man, but when it comes to getting runs across, that guy that can get on base and really put pressure on a pitcher, he can really add to a pitch count, and it really changes the game. Like you said, shortstop, he could probably move over to second base. That's a position that's opening, right? So if he comes in and successful there, that bumps Matt Rose to third, that bumps somebody else somewhere else.
Yeah.
Uh, it's just fun. Yeah, absolutely. I really am gonna watch that. Another number jumping out to me, man, is this 28 home runs from Juan Correa. Now, if I understand this correctly, you told me earlier, have we seen him before playing for Charlotte?
Yes. So he played against the Bulls in 2023, 2024 when he was on Charlotte, and last year he was on Appalachian State. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, 28 career home runs coming in,
Yeah.
going to add some pop. He's got the 31 percent strikeout, but hey, a lot of your power hitters today are going to come with those higher K percentages.
Hmm.
You work on trying to get them down, but at the end of the day, if they're getting their licks, then sometimes you let it go.
Yeah.
It's something Carter Murphy's going to be working on as well.
Right.
No coincidence. Both those guys are going to be in the first base competition. So
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting to mention about Juan Correa as well, is that he is a career first baseman. So also a right-handed bat. So him and Carr Murphy in that sense have a similar profile. Juan
yeah.
Correa is also a big guy. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. He's actually originally from South Florida, down in Weston. So this would be his first year being able to play, for a Florida Division One, I believe. Um, Actually, you know what? I think he started his career at Stetson. I want to say this is where his fourth school. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. But his first time playing for a Florida public school.
Hey.
Um, and so yeah, 28 career home runs at the Division One level. I mean, this kind of reminds me of like when we brought in Sebastian Greco last year. It's like, hey, here's a guy who has got it done. He's not going to be seeing anything new. He's got 466 career at bats in Division One. That's what you need, especially if you want to, be a contender for the championship, for regionals. You got to have guys with experience in addition to the young talent. So bringing in Juan Correa, I think, is a wise move by this coaching staff, and he's going to provide a good competition for the guys that are already on the roster. So
Absolutely. You liken him to Sebastian Greco, and really all he does is he kind of keeps that standard there, right? And that's going to make Carter Murphy and those other guys have to build above that, right?
exactly.
Versus that just being an absence.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll say, I mean, all of the position players that were brought in from either another four-year school or from JUCO all have pretty good stats. I mean, I'll just run through them real quick. Um, Nate Early is a transfer from Louisville. He got limited time there, 40 at bats, but a 954 OPS. You also have Joey Brandzuski from transfer from Indiana, the Indiana Hoosiers, the first baseman slash outfielder over there. Had an 870 career OPS, so he's another good experienced hitter. 253 career at bats in the Division One level. And Santiago Carriles is another good catcher.
Hmm.
That's coming from JUCO, coming from Miami-Dade Community College, 963 career OPS over there. So I mean, we got production, college production, bringing it in. Um, all these hitters have good track records. These new guys, Jake Kulikowski as well, came in from the University of Miami. Had some experience there. OPS career 743, showed a little bit of pop. And he's a local guy. I think he's originally from Trinity, Florida. And I think he played for Jesuit. So good to see him back in the Tampa Bay area. He's an
Hmm.
outfielder. He'll be one of those guys competing with like the likes of like a Cartagena for those corner outfield spots, I think. So really a lot of talent brought in the position player group from a JUCO or four-year standpoint. But on top of that, there's also a couple of interesting freshmen that have been brought in that kind of stand out, and I'll let Adam kind of talk about some of those.
Yeah, as we got into May in June, I think there were three names that we were talking about amongst ourselves that we were really going to be watching in the draft. It was Eli Pitts, who ended up going in the draft, Gabe Grelau, and Brock Silver, and all three of those guys were perfect tens on perfect game. You know, and again, you take that for what it is. The rating is with perfect game, and there's not a
Sure.
real universal rating. But when you get a perfect 10 with them, it's a pretty good idea that you're a very good player, and they were all draft eligible, and we were very lucky to get two of them, Silvers and Grillau, to come onto campus. Grillau is a long, lanky, I think what is it, 6'4", 200 pounds is what he's listed at.
Hmm.
Got some long limbs, really, really rangy. Also can get on the mound, two-way player in high school, can run it up in the 90s. Has been slotted as an outfielder through most of his recruitment process. But again, it's there if you need it. I think it's something that can be developed. I've never hated the idea of having an outfielder that can come in the ninth, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but he's going to play into that right field competition, I think.
Definitely.
I think he can come in and be an impact back. I think Silvers is one that is going to be interesting because he can come in and play some third base. I think he could play some second base. He could also slot into that corner outfield slots, that we've talked about. It's really going to be I think where he comes in is going to depend on some other people and who kind of wins out some other positions. So I'm not really sure where you could see him as we start, but again, I think you'll see Gabe Grillau in one of those corner outfield spots. I think he's got a real cannon and arm to play right field and can be a weapon there. Um, but man, it was just really exciting. You had to know when you got through the second, third, and fourth round when they kind of hadn't been called
Right.
that they had maybe been starting to tell teams that no, we're going to go to South Florida. And that's when I started to kind of get
Yeah.
excited after that
Yeah.
second day. I was like, man, we're going to get these kids.
No, you're right. I mean, both those guys, they're the level of prospect that, like, if they didn't get picked in the first 5 rounds as a high schooler, I
Mhm.
mean, it's better for them to just produce in college and become a top 5 round pick. And that's their profile. That's what they project to be. Obviously, a lot of work to be done, but you can't teach like 6'5", 215 with some of the skills these guys have. I mean, I've seen their clips on social media, their swings, their ability to move in the outfield. Yeah, these guys are gonna, I mean, they already have a college body, like
Mhm.
whereas some guys are coming in and it's like, okay, put on some weight, whatever. Um, these guys still need to do that too, because when you're 6'5", and 200 isn't actually as dense as you think. But they definitely have a great potential, and I agree. I think Gabe, maybe even more so because of his arm, would have a really good chance to maybe even win a corner outfield spot. So it's gonna be fun to watch in the fall, some of these position battles and how they play out and things like that. Um, but so those are some of the position players that stand out, that are new. And like I said, we'll be there this fall and kind of, highlight things we see as other players step up as well. We also wanted to highlight a few of the pitching newcomers, and I'll say there is a lot of newcomers in the pitching staff. There are, let me see, 18 pitchers on the roster, and 13 of them are new.
Mhm.
So we are essentially just starting the pitching rotation almost from scratch.
Yep.
From a returner standpoint, I already talked about Lawson Gailey, but the guys we did bring back, I mean, I'm excited about all of them. I mean, Nolan Bernard was awesome as a freshman last year. He also had a really productive summer in summer ball. Landon Yurek was really good for us in a lot of different spots, was versatile, even started the game at UF. The Cardinals had a lot of good moments. James Hill showed some flashes. So it's good to have all those guys back. But Adam, I just want to ask you what stands out from when you look at some of these new pitchers that have been brought in.
Yeah, pitching is going to be interesting this year. I think when you look at the position players, you have a little bit more comfort because at the end of the day, we only lost one player from a position standpoint that we weren't expecting to lose already, right? Through
Hmm.
graduation or whatever it was when, Carlos Hakame transferred. On the pitching side, though, we had some losses. I mean, we lost our three best pitchers to the draft
Yep.
right off the bat, right? We kind of anticipated Braun would go. We didn't really know what was going to happen with Newton and Archie. They all three end up going and signing. Congratulations to them. I'm not saying, not holding them back in any way, shape, or form. We were all very happy for that, but it leaves us in a hole that we were expecting to replace one, maybe two. Now we're replacing all three. You get Corey Kling transferring late in the transfer window. He was a guy that was up and down, but when he was on, was actually really good for us. You thought was going to kind of play into that back end bullpen role, maybe even flirt with a starting midweek or even Sunday. But he's not here at all either. And so there is a lot of newcomers, right? But there's also a lot of opportunity, right? And they're going to have to fill that. Um, I think we only have what, one, two, three, if you count Landon York, maybe four players with starting potential or starting experience, right? With
Yep.
DeCardenas and Hill being the two biggest ones. But I mean, hey,
Hmm.
they were kind of in that up and down, so they don't really come in with a position. So you
Hmm.
have to feel like all four starting rotation positions are up for grabs.
Yep.
It's going to be fun to watch. Just give you a name that I'm looking at right off the bat, and that's Edwin Alessia. We got him from Nova Southeastern, left-handed pitcher, 6'5", 240 pounds, big body lefty. We saw both with what worked for us with Corey Braun and both what worked well against us, and that is a big lefties. They've got something going on, and you see him 79 strikeouts in 68 innings. So he's got the strikeout stuff. Um, Walks isn't too bad. You'd always love to see walks go down. Everybody would, but a 1.38 WHIP. 4.46 ERA. Again, you'd like to see that drop a little, but it's not in an astronomical standpoint, especially when you look at a guy with 79 strikeouts and 68 innings, right? That's
Yep.
something you can say, I might can work with that. He had two good Cape Cod starts as well. I know that if you look on their social medias, they were very high on what he was doing for them. He had some really good highlights for them as well.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see him come in. I think he's going to be one of those names playing for that starting role. What about you?
Yeah, I'll definitely piggyback off of that. I mean, look, we had a lot of success last year bringing in an accomplished Division two pitcher with Jack Nedro. And I think I'm getting some similar feeling with Edwin Alessia, but maybe the upside is even higher here because I mean you're looking at a lefty with a
Mhm.
big frame who's already even like having success in the Cape Cod League before he even steps
Yes.
foot at USF. I mean, you have to be elite to even be invited to the Cape Cod League. And then you have to be really good to produce while you're there. So there's a lot of good things going on with him. I think he's somebody that I'll really look for in the fall to be like, hey, is he showing me, that he's going to be a weekend guy for us? Because I'll say sometimes you could tell right away watching fall practice, like, oh, that guy's in the weekend rotation. Like I
Mhm.
saw Corey Braun last fall, and I was just like, whoa, okay.
That's the guy. That's the
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. So, I'm looking to see him or somebody like that just pop. And it could be him for sure. But yeah, he definitely stands out a lot. I would say another really interesting one that stands out is Caden Smith, the transfer from TCU. Now he was a freshman at TCU last year, but he's actually originally from Ocala, Florida. He's a 6'2", 190-pound right-handed pitcher who played very limited at TCU. I mean, he may have only had a couple innings, if that. But he really actually got his experience this summer in the Cape Cod League, which again is a guy who is getting invited to the Cape Cod League, obviously has a good high pedigree, but did well while he was there. I mean, he started 3 games. He had 25 innings pitched across 10 appearances. He had a 3.55 ERA. I know he's a big arm talent. I believe I'm not exactly sure the velocity, but I do remember seeing pretty good velocity on him. The peripherals at the Cape were not probably where he ultimately would like them to be. I think that the strikeout to walk ratio was 1.2, so he's not reached his fullest form yet, but also you have to think he's going up against really good competition. But he's a guy that if he can get his walks down a little bit, and his strikeouts up a little bit compared with the ability he already has manage, work around trouble, miss bats, miss barrels. I mean, miss barrels, and to maintain a 3.55 ERA, even when you weren't getting a lot of strikeouts, means he does a good job of inducing weak contact for sure. So Caden Smith is somebody I'll be watching pretty closely, and he's one of those possible contenders for a weekend starting spot as well, showing he can do that. Anybody else jumping out at you from this?
Yeah, and I didn't notice this until right now we started talking about these guys, but Anna Nakomi. N-
Nakni
N-
Anna?
uh, Sure. Okay. Sorry, bud. When they get the pronunciation thing on the website, I
Oh yeah,
promise I'll
we're
have
all
it.
over
I will have it,
that.
but I don't have it right now. And I'll admit it. But I'm just looking at this kid's numbers: 91 strikeouts in 81 innings. He had a 15K per nine last year.
Yep.
Coming in on the left side, 5'9", 175 pounds. I bet the ball wiggles.
Oh, dude.
That's the
Yeah.
only thing that I can get, unless, of course, there's the Tim Lincecum model, right?
Yeah.
He could run it up in there. But yeah, I'm seeing a lefty, and that's what I really like about, these newcomers coming in. We did not have a lot of left-handed arms, um, at all. And so we get four from these newcomers. We get a fifth with a freshman. We're going to have some left-handed arms to come out of the pen. And I think one may even be a starter, as the one we talked about before. But wow, that really jumps out to me.
Yo, I just looked him up on Twitter. Yeah, you got type in his name on Twitter, Nakni Anna. The scouting report is returning all region performer that showed how tough he can be on opposing hitters with his mix from a deceptive crossfire delivery. So yeah, it's the deception with him. He's not a big guy. He's 5'9", 175, but last season he struck out 15 batters per 9 innings. So yeah, I mean, he's going to be one of those funky lefties that you just bring in out of the bullpen, maybe even after one of our hard throwers to just completely, tie up the other team in knots. So yeah, I'm excited what he's going to do.
Absolutely. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. And then another one that kind of stood out too, just from a really solid college production standpoint, is Jonah Sarabia from Mineral Area Community College, 6'3", 200-pound right-hand pitcher. He had a really productive career there in JUCO. He did make 3 starts. He seems like maybe he's more of a relief pitcher, 15 appearances, but he had a 2.91 ERA. He had a 1.31 whip. He was very productive in community college, so also has good control. So I'll be interested to see how he develops. Um, but yeah, I mean, we brought in how many pitchers from 4-year or 2-year schools? We brought in, let's see, 9 different pitchers that either came from JUCO or 4-year school. So clearly, I mean, we have to, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we're only bringing back 5 pitchers from the last year's team. So you need experience, especially if you want to build on what we did last season. I mean, we had a good season, but the goal now is to win a conference championship, make the NCAA tournament. You have to have experience. It can't just be only freshmen. And seem to have, done that pretty well. Brought in a few other interesting guys too. One other name I'll mention quickly here is Ethan Sutton, who's transferring in from the University of Georgia. He's a guy that was at Georgia, I think, for a couple of years, and I think he missed all of last season with, I'm not sure if it was an injury or a red shirt. I'm not exactly sure what it was. I think it was an injury, yeah. But he has an interesting profile. I mean, just to get recruited to Georgia in the first place out of high school clearly means you have a high pedigree. You were thought very highly of it coming out of high school. And the only time he really got to pitch so far in his career was in his summer league back in 2024, and he was really good. He had 16 innings with a 1.69 ERA and a .56 WHIP. So when this guy's healthy, he could be really good. And I think he's healthy now. So he's one of those guys that could come in and just be strictly business in the fall and just kind of, jump off the page. Kind of like when I saw Corey Braun last year. So. And Corey Braun was a similar story. I mean, he didn't. It wasn't an injury, but he didn't pitch the season before last. And now look at him. He's on the A's or Oakland A's organization. So some of these guys, all they need is one chance, one period, one little window where they're healthy and show what they can do, and they're just off to the races. So I think we might see that with Ethan Sutton. Um, Other than that, yeah, just a good volume of different names. And the last thing too I'll mention is we did actually bring in four different freshman pitchers in this class, highlighted by three right-handed pitchers. Michael Sine from Orlando is a 6'2", 200-pound freshman. Will Allen from Warner Robins, Georgia is a 6'4", 210-pound freshman, right-handed pitcher. And Bryson Tweedy, a local kid from Plant City, Strawberry Crest High School, 6'2", 195. And I looked up all their perfect game profiles. They're all ranked inside of the top 500 with an actual individual ranking, and they all have top velos at those different events of 92, 93 miles per hour. So at baseline, as freshmen, they're already strong arm talents. And on top of that, also bringing in Dominic Pontbriand, Pontbrink, who's a left-handed pitcher, 6'3", 180. So good to have more left-handed arms, honestly. So yeah, man. I mean, if you asked me, my impression of seeing the roster, I would tell you, look, we have a lot of experienced, very good returners in the position player group, and we have a lot of experienced, very good in newcomers because they've already done it. They've already done it at the 4 year level. They've already achieved it, and they just got to continue it here at USF. Whereas on the pitching staff, for me, it's more like guys who have shown flashes of what they can be, similar to like a Corey Braun, who was like had
Mhm.
never really made a name for himself at the 4 year school level, but did. And that's essentially what this group is really going to have to do. Because the only guy that really has good stats at the 4 year level is Edwin Alisea, and that was in Division Two. So he even has a challenge of like, hey, can you come up to Division One and do it as well? And the rest of these guys um, really haven't had much opportunity yet. So is it a bigger question mark? I would say yes, but is there the potential that it works out great? Yeah, I mean, and in Coach Schlereth we trust, right? Let's see if
Yeah.
he can develop these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, you don't want to, I mean, you bring up Corey Braun, and you don't really want to make any comparisons, right? Because you don't want to put
Yeah,
any outside expectations on these kids, but someone's going to have to step up and take over being the ace because that guy's not here right now, right? That guy walked out the door. And so even the guys coming in, even if it is a returner, someone's going to have to step up and be somebody they weren't last year.
yeah.
And that is an ace on a Division One, you know, program with plans to make Omaha. Right.
Right,
And so now,
exactly.
we're not, it is what it is. That's what we're trying to do at this point. So you're going to need somebody to step up and be that ace. Could it be Alisea? Yes. Could it be DeCardenas? Yes. Right. We've seen him
Yeah.
be
Oh,
great. Can he
yeah.
put it together for a full season and
Oh,
be
for
that guy?
sure.
Absolutely. He could
Yeah,
be that
man.
guy. Um, you look at the freshmen, and for me, I think freshmen usually take more time because you need their bodies to develop. They need to get used to the bigger workloads. And so you're probably not going to see that guy be one of these true freshmen walking in, but you can see some guys contribute. But one thing I am pointing out is when you ran through their sizes, these guys are coming in with bodies now.
Yeah, yeah.
6'2", 6'2", 6'4", all of them are in the 200-pound range. They'll get there soon if they're not. And so, maybe one of them does step up. But again, I think the workload is something they have to develop. So I would be looking for maybe the kid from Warner Robins to maybe come in and be a midweek or a Sunday guy that's maybe not trying to go 7 or 8 like we would look for our Friday,
Sure,
Saturdays.
sure. Yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of opportunity on the pitching side, right? And it was like that last year. We didn't have a clue who our pitchers were going to be,
Right.
right? We knew Bryce Archie was coming back. We didn't really know what he was going to be able to do with his dual sports. He gave us what he gave us, and it was great. And he cashed in on that, and is going to be a great pro.
Yeah.
But we don't even have that. We don't. We've got very little of experience coming back. Um, and
Yeah.
that just means opportunities, right? And it's opportunities for the returners and opportunities for the new guys. There's roles available to be filled.
Yeah, man. Everything is up for grabs in the pitching staff. I
Yep.
mean, there's so many different ways you can go with this. I mean, you could possibly see Nolan Bernard could step up and become a weekend
Yep.
starter, which is something I've kind of envisioned ever since seeing him pitch initially.
Yep.
I think he did that with his summer league team. So that is a possibility. And yeah, the Cardinals, I mean, the fact that we get him back, I mean, look, you could actually see how it's benefiting the football team to have some of these guys with the Pavia year. Look at
Mhm.
Jalen Schuler, Mac Harris.
Yep.
I mean, they are taking advantage of that. And
Yep.
I would love to see the Cardinals do that in a baseball aspect. And he could definitely do that. Yeah, and some of these newcomers from these different community colleges or 4 years, like I said, not a lot of them have unbelievable track records. Like Jack Nedro was an All-American at Division II. We don't really have that coming in, but we have guys who have shown that potential, and now it's just a matter of stepping up to the opportunity, really. So that's really going to be a big storyline is like, how does the pitching staff shape up in the fall and how does it look? And be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, just one last quick point. I think I look at it when I look at the position players, I look at guys like Rose, I look at guys like Triple, Ryan Pruitt, Brad Laurie. Um, the returners on the position side of the field. I'm not saying you're not looking for them to upgrade their numbers and get better, but you're not necessarily looking for any of those guys to maybe take that next real big step, right? You're just
Yeah,
wanting them to kind of get better at who they are and what
right,
they're doing. They've established themselves there.
right.
When you look at this pitching side, I think up and down, you look at it, you're just like, I need you to take the next step. I need you
Yeah,
to take, and it doesn't matter if you've been here or you're new. It's like, hey, we need everybody here to take a step, somebody.
yeah.
Um, and whoever does first is going to get the ball.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we will get some insight into that later this fall as we get to see some of these fall practices and scrimmages. And so, yeah, lots of reason to stay tuned to the show. If you enjoy what we're doing, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll post it up there. Subscribe to the Apple Podcast or the Spotify show. That way, when the show comes out, you get it right in your feed and helps us reach more listeners as well. So, but with that, that's pretty much all we had for today. So, um, yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and go Bulls.
Go Bulls.